Thank you for joining us today on the webinar for collaborating with Bluebeam Studio. I'm your host, Dan Coogan. I'm here with my co-host, Mark DePinto, who's in charge of our marketing. He's going to just help me out with this webinar, make sure I don't screw up with any of the webinar controls here. He'll also be taking a look at the questions throughout the webinar, and I'll jump in and try to answer some of them, but otherwise I'll try to leave. If I can't answer it right away, I'll try to leave it to the end and answer it for you then. If you don't know too much about who SolidCAD is, again, we are primarily an Autodesk partner, but we are also a big Bluebeam partner. We've been around for quite some time partnering with Bluebeam for a little over 10 years. We do provide full training, support, customization, and sales. We have Bluebeam certified sales and technical consultants, as well as instructors across Canada, coast to coast from Vancouver all the way to the Maritimes. So if you have any questions about using Bluebeam Studio, I'm just getting a quick sound check. Are we good? Okay, so sorry about that. If you have any questions about software licensing, support, or training services, please do not hesitate to get in contact with your Autodesk or I should say SolidCAD rep, or you can reach out to myself and I'll be happy to help you out. So today we're going to be looking at Bluebeam Studio. Studio is kind of one of those very much overlooked features within Revu. We have a lot of people using Revu simply to open up PDFs, replacing Acrobat, using it for simple tasks like marking a drawing up in PDF off of PDF. Stamping a drawing, but a lot of people are not really doing much collaboration with Bluebeam. Today we're going to take a look at the feature a little bit more in depth to show you what is the possibilities of using Bluebeam to collaborate on your 2D drawings with other people on your projects. So, I mean, the most common way that we work today with drawings PDFs are usually we FTP and we email the drawings, and it's a very linear workflow, and we find that it's a very slow, and there's a lot of latency between all the parties. So what Bluebeam has done is it created a platform that allows us to actually have everyone working almost in a real-time environment on the same drawing and do a fast-track design review with the markups. So we have actually Studio, which allows us to upload our PDF sets into the cloud and having everyone to collaborate directly on that same PDF set together. This gives us ability to, one, see what people are doing, what they're marking up. We have an ability to keep records of who did what and who marked it up. And there are other features within Bluebeam Studio that allow us to create security and also some urgency by putting expiration dates on when they have to get those markups into the PDF. And of course, once everyone's collaborating in Bluebeam, usually you have more consensus on getting the project to move forward. So within Bluebeam Studio, if you don't know what it is, again, it is a collaboration feature within Bluebeam. It's included in all paid versions of Bluebeam Revu. The good thing about that, it also allows you to collaborate with those who don't have a paid version of Bluebeam. So for example, if you're dealing with a developer client, you can ask them to download a free version of Bluebeam View, which would allow them to collaborate with your paid version in order to see what the markups have been put on the drawings. There's unlimited project data storage. So you can put as much as you want in the Bluebeam Studio. I'm going to show you in a minute how it's broken down into projects and sessions. And so there is what we call lightweight data management, and there is an ability to do a real-time design review in the projects feature. We can accommodate up to 500 attendees in a studio session. I don't recommend it, but if you want to go that far, you can do it. So everyone can work on the same drawing, mark it up, but there's always best practices when you're marking something up with that many people. You want to create filters on your markup so you can actually go through them very quickly. There's a built-in notification system within it, which you can turn on or off as needed. So this also keeps everyone in the loop and those who are not very attentive to the design review process. And finally, the work offline and online. So very often when people hear the word cloud, they always think that I've got to be online all the time. Well, it's not the case with Bluebeam Studio. The first time you want to connect and capture the data with your computer, and then the second time you can actually work offline. This allows you to have a little bit more flexibility of marking things up and syncing those changes back to the main set of drawings later on. The good thing about doing that is actually your work, your metadata that you add to a PDF, it's not overridden by anyone. It's actually going to be locked down. No one can actually touch it. So this also gives you, like I said, it's a non-destructive workflow for everyone. So within Studio, you probably will see this if you have Bluebeam already loaded on your computer, this little icon. It will request you to create a login the first time. So the first time you can create one off your Gmail, your any like domain, but most people are using their work emails. And within Bluebeam Studio, we have two components built into it. But we have projects, which is a lightweight storage. So you basically can use them in a similar fashion to Dropbox, throw all your data up there, your RVT files, your DWG files, your PDF files, your Word doc files, and create file structures and give people the ability to download them. So it actually brings in the FTP and the Dropbox features within Bluebeam itself. And the other part is sessions. Sessions is pretty much the review session. Actually, I kind of wrote here twice. It's the review component. So it allows us to actually go into a similar GoToMeeting style, design review with someone else and see everything that they're doing on the PDF. So marking it up in real time. And you actually will see those, those markups in real time if they are live in the session. So very common, you might call your consultant on the phone, talk to them, and ask them to jump onto Bluebeam sessions right now to look at a drawing or a part. And like I said, these are part of the overall feature within Studio. So from there, I'm going to jump into Bluebeam Studio within Revu. So the one thing I want to emphasize, this is not a full training. This is kind of just a quick introduction to understanding how Bluebeam Studio works. If you are interested in learning more and actually utilizing it in your practice, please get in contact with us and we'll be happy to provide you with more information on proper trainings. So if you're not familiar with this new interface, this is the 2018 interface from Bluebeam. This was released back in April. I've got right now the gray-white interface. That's my preference, but by default, Bluebeam will install it with the black interface. You also notice that a lot of things have changed in here as well. We have no longer the smaller icons everywhere. Everything has been pushed up to give you more real estate within the screen here. So first thing we want to do is we want to pull up, we're actually going to close this off. I'm going to go off, maybe we'll actually go offline here. Is look for this icon right here, Studio. You can see where I've been flashing my mouse. And if you don't know where to find it, you can just right click anywhere you want along the sidebars and to pull it up. And there it is. The shortcut again is Alt-C, and that will bring that Studio tab up as well. Once you've actually gone in here, as I mentioned, I'm going to sign out for just a minute here. We'll actually sign back in here. It's going to ask you to sign into Bluebeam Studio, but you also have the option to decide where you want the servers. So there is a European and an American server, and they're off Amazon Web Services. So you are using Amazon East if you're on the North American side. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And again, it's based off of my work email because I want other people to send me their sessions or invitations. And here we are. So once we've actually logged in here, we're introduced to two icons, the sessions and the projects. As I mentioned to you, the projects is the ability to create project folders online within Bluebeam and then be able to share that. And we're going to take a look at that first. So I've actually created one already, just to keep things on time, is what we call it right here. In order to do that, you can actually, if you are going to plan to do this on your own, you can just use the plus add. And you can basically click on a new project. So I'm going to click on the one that we already created, Project Collaborating with Bluebeam. And we're introduced now to our folder structure. So you can see here, very similar to a Windows Explorer or Dropbox or Google Drive, that you have the ability from here to basically create new folders. And within the folders, we can create subfolders. Now, if this is very time consuming, you also have the ability to actually upload batch files or batch folders. This is actually great. So if you already have a set of folders already predefined on your hard drive, great. Upload that entire drive if you can. This also keeps things really standardized. So if you do copy a lot of your folder structures, great, just bring them in. After you have actually created all your folder and file structures, you can start uploading your files. Now here's a few files that I've already uploaded. Like I said, you can upload them in a batch or individually as you wanted to. If you notice here, I actually uploaded also a Revit model.rvt. Now the one thing you should know that Bluebeam only has a preview for 2D documents, PDF. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see this RVT file, but you can store it in there to share with someone else. This also gives us the ability to share the link if we want to, and have someone else download that file. So it's a nice secure way as opposed to using some other third-party. The good thing about this is actually you can invite others by sending this invitation to them and having them create the folders for their discipline. If you're inviting a mechanical consultant, they can log into collaborate with Bluebeam and then creating their own folder structure and uploading their own data. So there's many different ways you can use the projects. I have seen some other companies basically set up all their project data and use it as a tendering tool to get people to download and upload their bids. And there's other people who are just using it as their internal way of storing and sharing the data within their office. What I did here is I pulled up the project settings. So as I mentioned to you, there is a built-in notification system and a shared link system. If you click on that notification system, you'll be given the option to decide what people should be alerted for. That might be for day-to-day changes on the files or folders. That might be based on markups that are added to sessions, which we'll look at later, or just when something is active, when people are actually logged in. You can turn them all on or off. It's based on your preference, or because sometimes they might notify you a little bit too often. So, you might want to turn some things off. User access, again, we have the ability to add people based on their email addresses, or we can keep it as an open project. So anyone with the project ID can simply log in with this ID number. Permissions, we can set up to say what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. So right now I've actually set up some rules saying that they're not allowed to invite others, but they are allowed to send a PDF into a session. And then folder structures, we can also create, like I said, multiple permissions at each level of the folder. So from the actual drawing, when we actually have created our folders and we have our files, now we have some really great tools within it. Now we're going to take a look at the ones first called existing sessions and add to session. As I mentioned, a session is a way to do a design review in a live setting. So we can actually take this drawing and we can throw it right into like a whiteboard session. So take it and we're going to call this SolidCAD review. And now what has happened, you can see here, this new session right here has just opened up and uploaded the drawing. It does not want it to go up into this session. And you can see here, D. Coogan has added this drawing. So this one is not going in. So I'm just going to pull up this one here already. So here we have a session called Mech Review Second Floor with this ID. And as you can see that mostly this one is just myself, but all the markups that someone has put onto this drawing together, so whether it be myself or it could be, like I said, one of the other 500 people invited, would start keeping track of everything in this design review. All your markups, when you are going to zoom in here. All your markups that you are putting on the drawing will be kept track in your markup list. So any markups that your consultants or your peers are putting onto the drawing during a session will be locked in, and you will not be able to change them. So this creates a little bit more of a non-destructive overwrite workflow. You can actually add markups during an offline session as well. So right now I'm connected, but you can work offline if you wanted to, as you see here. The markups that you add offline will be eventually synced back when you go online again. You can add multiple documents in here as well. So right now Deku is offline, that would be me, but you can actually add multiple documents within here. Once you finish with the document, you can check it back into your project folder. So that way it's kept up to date and the markups are all available for someone else to look at. So there's a nice workflow in here that we can actually work within Bluebeam between multiple people at the same time, as opposed to FTPing it constantly. So if I was to invite someone else in here just for this session, I could do that and have them just mark it up without having them to go through the project. So you have that flexibility as well. Within here, you also have the ability to create reports if you wanted to. Sorry, I'm just going to expand my screen here. So once actually the session is closed, we can actually go in here. We can actually leave a session, finish a session, and be prompted with an option to create a report. Now, if you don't have you can also take any of the drawings from any of the other folders, and like as mentioned, bring them into that existing session if you wanted to. So again, right-click down here and add that to SolidCAD Revu or the Mech Revu. So now here's some of the other features that a lot of folks didn't realize that is within Bluebeam Studio. There was also a process for check-in, check-out. So if you wanted to actually check out a file, you can actually take it out in a read-only form. So right now the file is checked out. So any of my other peers who are in this actual folder right now on their computers, they'll see a locked, checked out symbol. That means that they won't actually have the ability to overwrite or do anything on that drawing. It gives me the ability to open up in a side-by-side session, mark something up, close that, save, and then check that back in. My internet connection is a bit, and check in. Now that folder has been updated with the new revision, and we actually have the ability to go in and check the revision history as well. So here we are, we've checked that in, and here's a new version coming in pending. So that will update shortly. So this is kind of like a quick overview to show you what is within Studio that people are using it for multiple projects, whether it be during a design development or actually during the construction process and construction documents. Now, you also have the ability to work with a Bluebeam Studio in the field. So there are two versions available. As I mentioned, there is a free version of Bluebeam View, which is similar to an Acrobat Reader. It allows you to collaborate with another paid version of Revu. Revu is also available for Surface, Microsoft Surface, and other tablets or iPad, which you purchase through the Apple Store. And all three would actually work together. So on your free version, whether it be on your iPad or whether it be on your client's desktop, they can log in and actually access the studio session or the projects and download the information that you've uploaded. Vice versa, if you're working in a field, you might not want to take your laptop, you might have an iPad, you can just simply upload the free version of Bluebeam View onto it and just take the information from your session that you created on your desktop into the field. So you might upload a very large construction set with hyperlinks to allow you to navigate through that construction set pretty quickly while in the field and mark it up, which you then can take into a punch workflow or to a QA/QC field workflow. Now, some folks have asked me, well, I have a little bit of concerns about my data in the cloud or all my employees creating Bluebeam Studio logins all the time. So there is a new feature called Bluebeam Studio Prime, which is a paid subscription that gives you a bit of over and above control of all studio sessions inside your office. So IT basically can have a complete control on all the sessions and the folders created within Studio and see all the individuals who are participating in those sessions. The additional part of this is the API integration. So if you did have any third-party platforms, you could possibly connect those into the Studio Prime. We have the ability from there also to create reports and insights on how much of the studio is being used. So here's an example. We can see here how many projects are active across all the company employees. We can manage this, and we can actually restrict people based on their emails, domains, or have IT only be able to invite participants into the studio sessions and projects. And then we have also the ability to create automated PDF tasks. So if you had watch folders, whether it be DWG files, Word docs, PBT files, those can be watched and converted automatically to PDF drawings as well. So again, Studio Prime is a paid subscription on per year basis above your typical maintenance or perpetual license purchase. So that's a quick introduction to Bluebeam Studio collaboration. If you have any questions, I'm going to leave the floor open for a few minutes. Otherwise, thank you very much. And again, if you have any questions, please give us a call.